Good evening and welcome to the boardroom. It's another power-packed presentation tonight. We got a great audience, got a great panelist. First of all, let's go over kind of the rules of how this works. This is not a presentation to the audience here or on camera as a solicitation of securities. That's not what we're about. This is educational. Some of the panelists are accredited investors and may be looking to invest, but again, this is not a presentation for securities. We do this in three 15-minute segments. So there'll be up to a 15-minute presentation in which our presenter will tell you about his business. Then the panelists will ask questions for up to 15 minutes. When you answer, try to be kind of specific. Some people give 15-minute answers. Be a little more tight on them so we can get plenty of questions in. And then the hardest part for the presenter is then comes 15 minutes or more worth of advice. So during that time, you can't talk at all. You have to stand up here and be quiet, or we come beat you with a baseball bat. Now, the best part of this is after the panelists give their advice, then we go to the audience. So this is the audience time then. This is a mastermind. If you've read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, we go to the audience, and this is our audience time to give advice. If you're watching us live, you can type in on the page, and I'll look at your questions and or advice, and I'll give that advice as well. Just remember, that's the advice time. You can't ask questions, so please, for those of you new on I guess no one's new on the panel, but sometimes panelists like to give advice during the questions. And Tammy, are you guilty of that? Is that your guiltiness? Okay. So that's what we're about, and that normally all takes about an hour to an hour and a half, even though it's three 15-minute sections. So again, welcome to the boardroom, and without further ado, I'll introduce Ski, our presenter with EcoSense. Give Ski a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I think everybody introduced themselves. Let me give you a little bit of background on myself. I graduated 40 years ago this year, just turned 60 on Sunday. I closed my eyes at 40. I don't know what happened. The last 20 years just seems like a blur. I've spent a majority of my career in the electronic space, starting with TI, and then worked for another company called VLSI Technology for 14 years. We're the largest custom chip company in the world. A lot of experience. I've met a lot of great people in my career, and one of those folks is the founder of EcoSense. We worked together initially as a customer-vendor relationship when I was with a Bluetooth startup. He was one of the most technical, astute individuals I'd worked with in my career. And when he came calling a few years later with a product idea for the blind, I couldn't help but step up and try to work with him and bring this product to market. So that was our first generation. So let me tell you a little bit about EcoSense. We're a wearable electronics platform company, and I'm sure you've all heard about virtual reality and a lot of wearable electronics, bio products, watches, etc. We'll talk a little bit about the market. But we're actually an industry-leading wearables company in that space. We have a lot of technology that we've developed over the first generation and now our second generation product. We're currently in the process of raising $750,000 as a bridge financing round. And our overall goal to date has been to raise, I'll talk about it in a minute, $5 million as a public offering. All of our funding to date, about $2.5 million, has come from angel, individual investors. And we've used a 2-year convertible note, which at the end of maturity can either be converted to cash or converted to common shares of the company stock. We believe this is an incredible opportunity, not only to invest and benefit from the investment, but to really change people's lives for the better. So if you're not familiar with the wearable space, this is a chart that shows the growth from 2016 to 2020. The space that we're in is the eyewear space, which is roughly 100 million units. Are expected to be in 2020, and 25 million units for wearable cameras. The markets are very large. If you look at the commercial applications, roughly 250 million units per year. On the consumer side, it's a 1 billion unit a year market. The two that I'm going to focus on are the blind and severely visually impaired, which is a very large number worldwide, 135 million to 180 million. And on the commercial side, I'm going to talk about the law enforcement marketplace. Both are very personal and obviously civil liberties issues as well. So very high profile in the market today. Our first generation product was developed and released in 2015. We went to a conference for the blind community, and our first customer was this gentleman here to the right. I think you all recognize him, and because we're live streaming video, I don't want to go into any kind of issues with publicity, so I won't mention his name, but obviously a pretty famous guy. He was extremely excited about the product. This platform didn't get to very high volume production, but did give us enough of experience in the field to really be able to implement improvements and changes to our current generation product. One of our issues with the first generation, having done a first generation live streaming video product, was the cost of this product was prohibitive for the blind community. Our current generation takes the cost down dramatically. I'll talk about our price structure, how we're planning to go to market with our current generation. But it did provide a lot of real-world experience for us on the technical side. And so we're moving forward with a significantly lower BOM cost, but we're also implementing technology that nobody else in the industry has even contemplated yet. So we feel like we're a full generation ahead of anyone else that would try to follow this path. One of the things we're doing is quality of service monitoring and dynamically being able to change the data rate on the fly. So if you're in a powerful cellular network area, you can stream live video, HD quality. But as the degradation of the signal gets worse, we can actually dynamically change the data rate to allow you to maintain a connection even in the worst quality conditions. We've also improved the feature set, and you'll see we're targeting the product for another marketplace, which is police. So we have a whole new feature set that we're adding to the product that's pretty impressive. There was a survey done a couple years ago in the police space, and they asked all the police departments if they were planning to implement video or camera capability on police officers. And basically what it found is that only 5% of the police departments in the United States were not planning to implement body cameras. The state of the technology today is video recorders. No one has a live streaming video product today in production, although some of the vendors that are currently offering recorders have announced products. None of those are available today. So having done the first generation for the blind community, we feel we have a significant advantage in bringing a second generation, much more robust product to the marketplace. Being able to provide live video versus a camera recorder to the police departments improves both the police safety as well as public safety, and it's a dramatic change. How does this all work? Well, the picture on the left is essentially our product. It's a clip-on about the size of a AA battery. It weighs 15 grams roughly, so it's very light. You can attach it to your glasses, or you can attach it to your lapel, or it can be worn as a body camera. There it is as a body camera attached to the docking station, which allows us to stream live video fully for 12 hours. It also has battery life to be able to plug your cell phone into the bottom, so you can charge your cell phone while you're streaming live video in case the cell phone battery goes out before the battery for the device goes out. It is wirelessly connected to a cell phone. It can be any smartphone. It doesn't have to be a specialty phone from us like our first generation did. So it allows us to just put a software app on the phone and immediately receive and transmit connectivity. From the cell phone, using the cellular network, we transmit live video to a dedicated website for each individual wearer. And those websites can be aggregated, as I'll show you in a couple slides, where you have multiple officers on the same map. And I'll talk a little bit more about this example in a second. So here's another, well, actually, let me go back. Here's an example of the website that's historical. So if you're a police officer and you streamed video, it was recorded to the website. Not only do you have the video playing, but you also have the GPS location of the officer being tracked. So this is a historical website that allows them to more quickly write reports, really be able to capture the video as part of their report so they know where they were exactly at the time that the events were happening. This next website allows a live view. Let's say you're a police sergeant and you have multiple policemen in the field. You can see where their GPS location is live, and you can turn on all of their video. And we have another screen that's actually a video wall that allows you to watch every officer that's in your responsibility at the same time. This is an example of really two things. On the top, we're developing facial recognition as part of this generation platform. And the reason why we're doing that is, although facial recognition is available from other companies, you can license it. The traditional ones that are out there today are 70% accurate. In a lot of cases, they won't identify a face as a face unless it's a forward-looking face. And if we're going to apply this to police departments, we want to make sure that there's very few false positives. So we've actually, we're patenting this. We're recreating the face into 3D images. So we take a 2D photograph, we recreate it to a 3D image, as well as the video that we're capturing. And now we can compare at much higher probability than what exists in the marketplace today. In addition to doing that, for privacy reasons, as a police officer would capture video, you want to be able to do redaction. So someone that's not involved in the event, their face won't show up. We can basically blur the faces. So when it goes into evidence, et cetera, a year later, 2 years later, you don't have a random face that doesn't belong there. We've been working on this for a number of years. Again, I mentioned earlier, we feel like we have a significant advantage over the market with a second generation solution where everyone else is working on their first generations. We've also created quite a bit of IP and very valuable patents for the company. And we started originally with assisted guidance and navigation items. We actually have a patent for echolocation in a pair of glasses. That was our original intent. And we also have some more recent provisional patents like facial recognition, which I described, and dynamic on-the-fly reconfigurability. That ties into both the quality of service, where up until this patent, the only way that you could change the data rate is to stop the stream and then restart it after making some changes. Obviously, during an event, or even if it's a blind person wanting to get help in navigation, you really can't afford to do that. So again, we're able to dynamically change every parameter on the data rate, frames per second, compression quality, et cetera, and it allows us to basically maintain a connection when you have poor quality in the cellular coverage. We have multiple business models. The company isn't just a hardware company. In fact, the majority of our development is really on the software side. But from a revenue perspective, we do sell the hardware platform. That's the start. When somebody purchases the device, then they will also use our back end or our website. So we have a recurring revenue stream on a monthly basis that we get into the company. So as an example, this generation, where the previous generation product sold for almost $3,000, this one allows us to go to market between $400 and $600 and still maintain very good margins and very profitable. In addition to that, if you're using just the basic back end, there would be another $25 a month fee on a recurring monthly basis to maintain the website, maintain your video that you've already captured. It's automatically saved on our servers when it's streamed to us. We have editing capability. There's a lot of features on the back end that I'm not able to show in a 15-minute presentation, but trust me, it's a very valuable asset for the company. We've talked to partners about working together as sales channel partners in the police space, and they love this portion of the product in addition to the hardware. So we feel very comfortable with those two, whether it's consumer applications or commercial applications. Those would be our revenue streams. In addition to that, if you're selling into the police space, they would prefer to have a warranty, so there's a revenue stream from that. And then you have what's called evidence management layer, where these videos would go into an evidence management vault, and DAs, prosecuting attorneys, everybody would have access to that data, if they're given access to it. And then ultimately you have cloud storage. Police departments, if they do a lot of video filming, they can get into the terabytes of storage. It can be very, very expensive for them, and we offer that capability, but we're also open to let them get their own storage vendors. So basically we have potentially up to 5 recurring monthly revenue streams with this product. Commercialization is our goal through our partnerships that we're going to establish or working on currently in the police space. We feel it's better to work with somebody that's already established vendor that's potentially doing video recorders today and be able to come to market with the best solution for live streaming video product into that space. We've discussed business terms with a couple different suppliers that would be our channel partners, and we're in active discussions to actually close an agreement with them probably within the next 30 to 45 days. We expect to have multiple channel partners. We're not just focusing on the police space or the blind space. Our product's pretty general purpose, so as we develop those platforms and feel comfortable they're being accepted in the marketplace, then our goal is to expand that into other markets and other applications. We're in the process of now moving forward to complete the development of the product, and as you know, as you complete development, the next stage is to go to volume production. Volume production could be very expensive for us. As I mentioned earlier, we've raised $2.5 million to date, and we feel now that we're in need of anywhere from $3 to $5 million at this next stage. So instead of going down a more traditional path with venture capital, the Federal Jobs Act allows us now to advertise and be able to take equity investment through advertising. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take the company public initially in the over-the-counter market, and we're going to stage two financing, a Reg 506C, which is a private placement, followed by a Reg A+, which is a public offering. We have an advisor that's joined us, Jonathan Morick. He's the president of Millennium Capital Partners and on the board of directors of Roth Capital. He's done this before with other startup companies and actually specializes in that area. Roth Capital is one of the largest investment banking firms in the Western United States, so he comes with tremendous credentials and credibility. The next 2 years, our goal in bringing Jonathan on isn't just the over-the-counter public offering, but it's really sort of a backdoor way into going full IPO into NASDAQ. Instead of working your business up and taking a year to do all the paperwork and the financials and everything to go IPO, we can actually get there through this method, and it's less overhead and less expensive on the company. So, to summarize, our product, our second generation, we believe is, again, we're getting feedback from our potential channel partners that are already in this space, that we're at least a generation ahead of everyone else that's trying to bring a product to market. We're planning to go public within the next few months once we raise the bridge funding so that we can go ahead and commercialize and through the investment that we'll be taking, commercialize and grow the company into a production entity. We'll be working with advisors that have already done this successfully with other firms, and our business model generates significant revenues. If you look at $400 to $600 for the price of the unit itself, but add in another $25 to $30 per month for the back end, and if you look at police, you have multiple layers of revenue. We're averaging about $1,000 in the first year if someone buys the device. And for electronics product, that's a pretty high revenue. But it's also a very affordable type of approach versus what we had previously. So we feel once we go to production, our revenues will grow very dramatically. I've shared with the panel some of our revenue projections. We have anywhere from $8 to $9 million in the first year, and then we grow literally to $100 million within the next 3 to 4 years. So. Our bridge round details, again, we're looking for investment up to $750K. We'll use our convertible note that we've used to date. It provides 8% interest each year for 2 years, and at the end of the 2-year period, you can either convert it to cash or you can convert it into common shares of the company. We are going to move forward with the over-the-counter placement and public placement offering. We're targeting a $20 million valuation for that, where our current investment is over a $10 million valuation for the bridge financing. So even though we are planning to go forward and raise $3 to $5 million, we're going to do it at a much higher valuation, so it'll more than offset the dilution that you'll see as an investor today. And again, we believe that with a 2-year note, when you mature 2 years from now, we will be at substantial revenues well beyond the $8 to $9 million, which is expected for the first year. And you'll see a much higher valuation in the marketplace when you're ready to mature. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks.
So starting with our questions round, John, you have the hot seat.
Could you tell me what you mean, by a platform company? Yeah.
So we're a wearables platform company. And we say platform because there's more to it than just a camera. We, as I mentioned, we do the front-end hardware, But we also realized that as we're streaming live video, we can process that video real time. So for a police officer, for example, if we can provide things like facial recognition real time, if we can do license and license plate identification so they don't have to go back to their patrol car and type it into their laptops. Imagine if an officer were to walk up to a traffic stop and get shot, he doesn't have to reach for his radio to let people know. Otherwise, they wouldn't know. Here, they're streaming live video, and the central office will know immediately that something has happened and be able to react to that. We also have the ability, let's say a policeman pulls somebody over and they take off. They can take the video on their cell phones, go back and take a picture of the person that was in the vehicle, and actually push that to all the officers that are in the vicinity. So now instead of just a description of the vehicle and the person, they'll actually have a video of both the vehicle and the person, or a snapshot that they can look at and be sure they're capturing the right person.
Do you manufacture or do you outsource manufacturing?
Well, actually both. It's kind of a long I was told not to answer in 15 minutes, so let me make it as short as you can. We don't think we need to reinvent the wheel from a hardware perspective, so we're using standard products. There's no custom chips or anything special in them. Our secret sauce is really in the firmware that we're doing. We've been working with people that we believe have the best capable products in the industry, and believe it or not, from a camera perspective, electronic camera, that's in China. So we will be buying from a manufacturer of the camera from China. Similarly, when we're doing the other portions of the hardware, we have manufacturing here in the States as well as over in Asia. The channel partner we're currently engaged in actually wants to pick up manufacturing as well. And so we'll probably be building more in the U.S. for the police space as we get going into the police space.
How do you plan to market the product?
So one of the reasons why we, and I mentioned this in the presentation, we picked a channel partner is there's already probably a half a dozen or more vendors in the police space, as an example, that are selling the video recorders. And they've already established relationships with large police departments around the country. It would be very difficult, or time-consuming is probably a better way of putting it, for us to try to catch up to that. So we feel if we can work with a partner, and it's good business terms on both sides, it'll get us to revenue on our product platform much quicker. So in addition to partnerships in the police space, we plan on doing that similarly into the other vertical markets that we'll address. But that doesn't preclude us from selling directly as well. We actually started looking at that in our first generation product. For example, the large cellular phone service providers. Verizon has a store, and if you get into the store, basically, then it's promoted and advertised if you go to the Verizon website, as an example. AT&T doesn't do that. Sprint doesn't do that, but Verizon does. So that would be a channel that we would, look to do directly. And then places like Best Buy, a lot of the electronic stores, things like that, for consumer applications.
Just one more question. Assuming you have all the money you need, what do you see as your three biggest challenges?
Before you answer, I'm sorry, Ski, could you move to the center of the stage?
Oh, I'm sorry. And I can get in front of the screen now, right? So it doesn't make... three biggest challenges. Really, one of the biggest challenges we've had since the beginning has been financial. We're hoping that if we can get through the bridge funding and go to the public markets, that our financial concerns or constraints will become much less than they have to this point. Being that we've done this bootstrapped and through angel investors, to really do the kind of stuff that we've done to date at $2.5 million is just very difficult to do. So we've essentially not only invested our own monies into the company, but countless hours. I was just thinking the other day, like tens of thousands of hours of no pay and late nights and things like that. So, and here we are at the cusp of going to production. So we really need to add staff and resources to be able to do this properly and compete effectively. So financing is one of my concerns, probably the biggest going into all this. But I do believe that we will be successful in the public and private offering as we move forward. Second thing, I guess, is really it's probably more related to the technology itself. Being that we are a single entity, we can't do everything. And I see this market evolving very quickly, this capability evolving very quickly. And so I think what we'd like to do is capture as many of these applications and vertical markets and put our name there so people think of us first. So I think that's always an issue in the technology space. And then I guess finally really is having the know-how and the connections and the guidance to be able to move into some of these vertical applications and markets. We have the visibility. We know what's going to win in those spaces and how to be competitive. Basically.
Thank you.
Alex, it's yours.
So I have just a few questions.
Stay in the center.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're familiar with the GoPro
Yeah.
camera, right? So can you comment on that? How can they potentially maybe compete with you, or if you guys can actually partner up with them?
Sure. We've actually reached out to GoPro, and I think I can say that publicly because we haven't signed any NDAs. I can't talk much about our partners because of NDAs, but we reached out to GoPro, and at least till now, they've said they don't want to go into this space. They see themselves as really much higher quality video and consumer-oriented, just exclusively consumer-oriented. So they don't, at least till now, the CEO has been reluctant, and I've seen this publicly as well in their quarterly announcements and things. They've been struggling, not growing like they used to, and their board and other people have publicly said that they need to get into the commercial markets, and they just haven't done that. They're not willing to do that. So.
Okay. Have you talked to any other like big corporations or companies that
Pretty much everybody at one time or another, yeah. We've talked to Google, we've talked to...
What is the level of interest?
With Google, it's quite interesting. Google's still in development. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Google Glass, but that was their first glasses product that they brought to market. Unfortunately, Google Glass was designed with its own battery and wireless capability. And because of that, if you have your own battery and you don't want to put a lot of weight on your face, which you don't, it's not very comfortable for very long. They can only really stream live video for 10, 15 seconds at a time. Okay, their battery life would be like 20 or 30 minutes tops if they streamed video. So it's great if you're a Facebook person and that's all changing now instead of photographs. Facebook and social media. I read just recently the CEO of Facebook said that's the big change in his business right now is people are posting short videos instead of just pictures. And so it's a trend really to have video capability, and point of view video I think is a big deal. What they told us was, look, Google, they said, we don't want to jeopardize, we don't want to muddy the waters from an IP perspective. You guys already have IP, we're developing IP. If we start working together, it's going to be hard to know whose invention it was and how this would work.
Right.
And they're clearly still in that phase. They don't have a product yet that's really accepted in the market.
And kind of follow up on that, how fast can you ramp up if you get the financing?
Right.
Because, like you just mentioned, there is a trend now in the video streaming and...
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Periscope. There's websites where people stream video, and you can watch a guy walking around Italy or different places. It's really taken off like crazy. With the feature set that we're developing currently, we believe we're 3 to 4 months away from completing all of the development. We would then go into field testing. It'd take us another couple months to do that once we raise this round of funding. So we're looking at third quarter product release and field testing. And fourth quarter, start shipping units, basically.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I keep walking over there,
У
I'm
меня
sorry.
3 вопроса.
So he has 3 questions.
Okay.
Первый вопрос. Сколько времени занималась разработка?
How long did it take to develop that product?
It was a few years, roughly 3 years, I think, is the right answer.
3 года.
3 years. First generation.
750 тысяч, которые нуждается вложиться в разработку или где?
So 750,000 for the bridge financing. What is going to be the use of funds?
250 of
Или
it
на
roughly will
производство.
be used for the public offering that we're planning, the over-the-counter.
250 тысяч пойдут на IPO
Ага.
And the rest is for development and initial field testing.
Еще раз.
чтобы
А
дотестировать.
потом еще 5 миллионов нужен.
And then you will need 5 million.
Right. And in the public offering is where we'll plan to raise that $3 to $5 million.
Да, и потом после этого уже...
Потом еще 5
Да.
миллионов. По вашему мнению, сколько времени займет возврат денег?
How long is going to take for the investor to get his money back?
It's a 2-year note, and by the time the 2 years comes to maturity, you'll have a liquid asset in common shares of the stock, so you'll be able to sell the shares 2 years later.
В течение 2 лет компания будет уже на публичном рынке, вы можете продать.
Это предполагаем так.
So you assume that it's going to be on the public market in 2 years.
Well, if we raise the bridge funding, I have to assume that's our plan, and I plan for success, right?
Да, он планирует, конечно, чтобы это было.
Мгм. Какой основной риск у инвестора в вашем проекте?
What do you think is the main risk for the investor in this project?
Чем вы поможете инвестору убегать этот риск?
And
Sure.
how can you help
Обезопасить.
investor to protect from that risk happening?
Продукт бесподобно, он классный продукт, он хорош.
It's an awesome product.
Right.
Но как инвестор я смотрю не на продукт.
But like an investor, I'm not looking at the product.
Больше я интересуюсь, чтобы свои деньги не потерять.
I'm
No problem.
more interested not to lose my money.
So,
А
2
второе,
year,
интересуюсь, чтобы они эффективно работали.
so our
And
2-year
I
note,
want the product to look effective, work effectively.
right? So our 2-year note that you would use as the instrument to invest pays 8% interest per year for 2 years.
То есть вот это вы инвестируете, когда деньги будут платиться 8% в год в течение 2 лет.
Мгм.
Once it matures, you can convert it to cash or common shares at your choice.
Спустя 2 лет вы можете либо конвертировать это назад в наличные, либо конвертировать в акции компании.
То есть независимо от того, там компания просветает, не просветает, они мне по 8% деньги оплачивают и возвращают мои деньги? Еще раз спросите.
So pretty much he will receive 8% return per year,
Yep.
and then after 2 years he can get his money back,
Yep.
cash,
Yeah.
from the company.
Yeah.
Where is the company going to get the money?
Well, the $2.5 million we've raised so far we've done it all with the same 2-year note, and to date, no one has converted to cash. Everybody has converted to stock.
Да, в течение 2 лет они могут вернуть наличные, но, говорит, вот та инвестиция, которая уже сделана, 2,5 миллиона, одно, соответственно, никто не конвертировал в кэш, все остались в акции.
Ну, хорошо.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And to finish the answer, if we do raise this next round of public offering, which we're very confident we will, we'll have the cash available, even if all 750,000 wanted to cash out at the end.
И вот эти деньги, которые они планируют дальше продвижение, будут, конечно же, уже кэш. То есть наличные.
Ski, to revisit the patents, I like what you're doing with them, but I didn't quite hear enough intellectual property there that would prevent a competitor to do something similar.
Right.
I don't see a barrier to entry. Let's say when you go out there in the marketplace, and let's just say that it catches on, and someone else says, "What a neat idea! Let's throw a lot more money at it and do it better." What keeps them from doing that?
Well, there's a few things in our patents that I didn't go into in a lot of detail, so let me try to answer that. I mentioned the quality of service monitoring. People do that today. It's not patentable. But what we can patent, and we have a provisional patent for, is the ability to change the data rate dynamically on the fly. It's very significant for 2 reasons. One is, as I mentioned, if you're traveling in a vehicle, for example, or you're just moving around in a city environment, your cellular coverage may change dramatically during the course of an event. Let's say you're a blind person and you get into trouble somewhere and you're asking for help. If you cannot stream some level of situational awareness to the website, then nobody can really step up and help you. If you're a police officer having an event that could be very detrimental to the police officer, unless you have situational awareness throughout the event, you may not know what really happened. You're not capturing that video as well for evidence. When we did our first generation, we came to the realization that we needed that capability, and no one's ever been able to do that before. The only known way of doing it today is to stop the stream, right? So imagine in any of these events, you don't really want to stop the stream. It's critical, I think, that you have that situational awareness. So by having that patent, we think that's extremely, extremely valuable. The other most recent patent that we have on facial, well, let me finish. The second reason why we think that's a very valuable patent is imagine how much data usage you have on your cell phone if you're streaming live video for an extended period of time. It also allows us to have administrative capabilities, which we've already implemented in the website. So let's say you're a police department, and instead of streaming HD quality video all the time because of the cost associated with doing that over the cellular network, you can actually set different parameters and get your data rate down and make it much more affordable. And you know, today more and more the cellular carriers are offering free data, but even some of the free data advertising comes with a gotcha. I know AT&T was doing that, where they said it was free, you know, unlimited, but if you read the fine print, as soon as you got over 2 gig or 4 or 5 gig, they were going to start charging you extra fees. So that's one patent. The other most recent one on facial recognition could be a business all by itself. I just read an article this morning that in China, they're implementing facial recognition for the police departments over there, and they're going to be scanning the public, you know, and identifying the bad guys and all this. I don't think we can do that kind of a concept here in the States, but imagine a TSA location where you have a fixed camera. It's no longer a point-of-view camera or mobile like ours is. I would think that they would want to do facial recognition for the no-fly people that are on the list. You've got tons of applications. Recently, Panasonic announced licensing their facial recognition to a cellular phone manufacturer, and someone told us about it, so we went and we looked at the actual picture of the development team, and out of 50 people, they had all the faces circled that their software identified as faces, not identified as to who they are, but just identified them as faces. And I'd say there's probably 10 to 12 of those developers that weren't even identified. They had baseball cap on, one guy, so he had a shadow across his face. Anyway, we ran that through our software. We identified 100% of all the faces as faces, just to give you an example. So what we're trying to do there is we're actually processing 3 different algorithms that are traditionally used for facial recognition. We're doing them meshed, so they're kind of done in parallel, so the overhead isn't very much. And then facial reconstruction is the key. We can take a 90-degree angle of a face and have the person grimacing, and we can still identify that person against his flat face. What we do is we take the 2D images of whatever photograph database you have, and we recreate a 3D image. And we do the same thing from the video that's going into our servers. You can't do that on a phone. You don't have enough data or memory to be able to do that, or horsepower on the processor. It all has to be done at the server. And so that's why we implemented it. We also wanted to do it for the blind initially, because imagine a blind person at work going into a boardroom meeting. It'd be nice to know who's in the room, right? Things like that. But there's tons of applications for it well beyond our product, and multiple verticals. And like I said, you know, I think we can license that technology in addition to our core business going forward.
Well, I love the product.
Great.
I really love it. I want to make sure I understand a little more. In the security vertical, is it, do you envision that that's a big vertical as far as maybe public, private, or government contracts in the security industries?
Yeah. We've gotten an awful lot of interest from, you know, through some of our guys here. They've reached out to different companies as potential investors and individuals, and found private security companies just love our product. There's actually a group here we've worked with in Dallas, ex-CIA, ex-military folks, and what they do is security of all types, from IT security through private armies, basically, embassy staffing, security. They're all over the world, and they absolutely love the product and can't wait for the second generation to come out.
So on the camera, how mobile is it? It's mobile and you have
You can go anywhere.
live streaming, but what about active? You know, is it good for active?
Yeah, so one of the things I should mention is, and this is also very unique, is when we have one camera, but we actually create two video streams. One is the live stream video that's dynamically controllable from our server. Once we see the quality of service, we can send a signal and change all that. And then we have another stream that sends HD quality to an SD card that's in the camera. And we can store up to 48 hours of high definition video. So let's say you do lose the connection in the field. On the cellular, you're still recording the video. Okay, so it gives us another layer of safety, another layer of robustness. That SD card will store up to 48 hours of video. So literally, they wouldn't have to worry about downloading that unless they lost the stream and really wanted it right away. They wouldn't have to do it for a whole week. At the end of the week, they can, at end of shift, go ahead and download.
So one of the ideas, I'm a trail runner, and I've always wanted a personal security camera because there's a lot of crime on various trails when you run. And I thought that if a company would develop something like that, it would really take off in the consumer market with athletes. But do you have a marketing plan for meeting the needs of, let's say, cities that wanted to implement security, which is quite common right now on trails in certain cities, and also as a benefit for new developments? You know, I'll often see cameras on the boardwalk or in the trees or on the trails. Do you envision being able to kind of meet any kind of need like that?
Yeah, absolutely. What's happened in that space, the fixed camera space, is all those cameras used to be wired. And now they're not, they're all wireless. So it's much easier to implement them. The back-end cost requirements are much less. And I don't know if you know this, but majority of those camera makers are from South Korea. They really kind of own that space. So I don't know, you know, our product is really more on the person, on the body, mobile. And we're dealing with mobile issues and trying to overcome those. Fixed camera is much simpler, easier problem to solve.
But they don't have live streaming generally like you could,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, we could do that, absolutely. And that could be another area where we would enter into partnerships with some of the bigger players in that space. Honestly, one of the things that I expect to have happen is as we come out with this generation product, I think there's going to be companies that are going to want to acquire us pretty quickly and get this stuff.
Very impressive business, technology, and you've done a great job presenting.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. Talk to me about security of the data. I can imagine that a lot of issues could come about if this was hacked.
Sure. Well, interestingly, again, we have two video streams. We're streaming live, and when you stream live over the cellular network or Wi-Fi, it's encrypted. Okay, you can't really eavesdrop on a cell phone like you used to be able to. Similarly for Wi-Fi. And then what we do with the second video stream is when we transmit that to the SD card, we encrypt it inside the camera. Because what we don't want to have happen is, especially in the police application, if it gets knocked off the police officer during a scuffle or what have you, somebody can pick that up, take the SD card, and download the video. So it's all encrypted, it's safe, and it's not hackable.
Okay. I'm having trouble when I'm on 75 megabyte system here, and I'm having trouble reading or watching my own stream. I'm getting kicked out of it. So is it? It sounds like a great product when you can have a monitoring department in the police department watching every move that a police officer is making. I try to do this with fixed cameras in my stores, but is it going to really be reliable enough to have somebody streaming and watch? I mean, somebody sitting there and watching it.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why we're doing the quality of service, main reason we're doing the quality of service monitoring, is so that we can maintain that stream much better than you can on a normal device. We live in Savannah, Georgia, and we have a bunch of grandkids in Atlanta. My wife is on FaceTime all the time with them, almost every evening. for a little bit of time. They're so cute and they're little now, you know, we're enjoying that. But if she goes from the bedroom or living room to the kitchen sometimes, she'll get disconnected. We're in the same house. You know, you wouldn't think that there would be that much of a difference. But again, we recognize that, especially after our first generation, we put that product in field testing. And we have, we can do a WebEx. Anyone that's interested as an investor would be more than glad to do a live WebEx for you guys and show you a lot more about what that back-end capability is. All of the videos that we have captured from the glasses are there. You can see the quality as people are driving down Dallas highways, actually, because it's been done by guys like Hayden and Ben and others as part of our team. And you'll be amazed at how good the quality is. Now, there'll be times where you'll see an image or a change like you would even on your TV without it moving. And really, it's even more difficult to maintain a good audio connection, believe it or not, when you have bad data rate than it is video. But both of them can have issues at times, but we're able to keep that much longer, that situational awareness, and keep it, you know, transmitting. Again, second generation, and we have the IP to do it.
Do you have any revenues yet? I think I understood you didn't.
No, we did. When we did the first generation, I mentioned we had a very high bill of materials price. It wasn't just the glasses themselves and the electronics. And by the way, Ben, if you would, stand up for a second. This is our first generation product. In the box, go ahead and show it to everybody first, Ben. Don't open the box. Go ahead and show it. And what I'll do is, Ben, go ahead and pass it around. This is our first generation glasses. And again, these plugged into a cell phone. You can open the box if you'd like. Inside is how we would ship it to a customer, shipped it to customers. And you have the glasses in there, so you can get a feel for them. You can try them on and everything else. Those glasses, just like our clip-on, once the software is loaded on your phone, they become hands-free. So you can basically do everything, control your phone, as well as all the features of these units by verbal command. You can take snapshots, you can stream live video, turn it on and off, and do all those things. Did I answer the question?
And we'll now go to the advice phase. John, you're in the hot seat again.
Thanks for the presentation. Enjoyed it. What concerns me is it seems like there's so much energy and emphasis on getting money raised when I think the focus ought to be on generating sales. And if you generate sales, then the money's easier and cheaper.
Sure.
I'd like to see you put some effort in direct sales, explore with some companies that have maybe some multi-level marketing, a number of people out there who can make a big number in a hurry. I'd like to see you work with Amazon, put some products that you're proven on Amazon. They're a workhorse. And if you're going to have heart surgery, you want to find a real good heart surgeon. I think if we're going to raise money, you need to delegate that to a professional who can raise it for you. While you're making sales and revenue and profit, let him raise money for you. I read the 8% note. That wouldn't appeal to me at all. There's no collateral, no guarantee, and you state that you're going to write a lot of paper. It's scary to me. Maybe it's work for you, but what I could see you do is it looks like to me that your secret sauce is marketing. You got the technology, you got the product, you need to market it. So once you come up with some type of investment formula that lets an investor put his money in, knowing that he's going to get it back, that it's going to be spent 100% on making sales, and he gets his money back as the sales are made. So he gets to start getting his money back next week or 2 weeks. Because it won't be long, you'll develop a formula that $1 in will produce $8 revenues or whatever.
Right.
But tie it into where the investor can see that he's going to get his money back. The money is going to be spent just on marketing. It's not going to be on HR or just marketing. And as soon as sales are made, he's going to start getting that money back. And anyway, that's some suggestions I've got for you. It's you've got quite a challenge. You've got a lot of sizzle.
Thanks, John.
There's a lot of police departments out there across the country that would love to have something that works.
Love the product. I think great technology. I think you can definitely win the market with it. Obviously, you have two different markets, like the police, the army, the security, and then the consumables as well, that can be, both monetized. I totally agree that you need to focus a little bit more attention on marketing. Create even when you show the product, maybe create some videos and put it live out there, put it on social media for just regular consumers. But other than that, I think it's a great product. It's worth investing in, and definitely with maybe a few tweaks how to get the money back for investors. When you show, let's say, that we're going to sell in the next year or two so many items to police and so many items to consumables, so you can show that, for example, the 750,000 will be returned with no problem,
Right.
then that's going to be a winner.
Я не знаю, сейчас, Алексей, что сказать, если вдруг у вас презентация подготовлена для продажи продукта, не для продажи бизнеса для инвестора.
Your presentation is prepared to sell the product, but not to sell the investment.
Я это вижу постоянно. Я каждую неделю минимум 5-7 разные проекты слушаю.
Every week I look at 5 to 7 projects myself.
Вы на 90% говорили о продукции.
90% you talked about the product.
И она была интересна, если я хотел бы купить этот продукт сейчас.
It's very interesting if I would want to buy those glasses right now.
В следующий раз презентацию готовьте для инвестора.
Next time, prepare a presentation for investors.
Я должен видеть прибыль,
I need to see income, profit,
безопасность
security, how I get my money back,
и готовые заказы.
and hopefully executed orders or pre-orders for the product.
Например, вы откуда? Вы мне сказали, через 2 года возвращаем деньги. За счет чего возвращаете?
For example, you said that I will get my money back in 2 years, but I don't see how you can get this money back to me in 2 years.
За счет чего? У вас нету готового контракта. Есть образец, с этим образцом нужно несколько контрактов.
You have the product, but you just need a few contracts with that product.
Живой контракт.
Life contract, life agreement with
Это гарантирует
somebody.
возврат денег.
And that will guarantee that investor will get the money back.
Например, когда сейчас я послушал, я уверен, что через 2 года, если по такому темпу пойти, вы не можете вернуть деньги.
So what I so far listened, if you go that route that you presented, in 2 years it's going to be very hard to get the money back.
Почему? Потому что из опыта говорю эту фразу.
He's just talking from the experience.
А так продукт у вас очень хороший.
Very, very good product.
Год назад, когда мы первый раз встретились, вы сказали, что будет передача только через телефон Motorola. Я сейчас смотрю, сегодня вы сказали, через любой телефон.
So when we met before, we saw the first phase of the product, and obviously right now it's much more advanced.
Значит, это уже вы доработали, это
So
классно.
that means that you're improving it. That's
Это
very
здорово.
important.
Я проверил ваш продукт, я помню, в прошлый раз ходил, сам проверил, он классный продукт.
I remember last time I actually tested it out and it worked.
Да,
Worked
да,
very well.
как продукт. Но для инвестиций, поскольку есть альтернативно много вариантов, она не настолько для меня, как частный инвестор, интересна, потому что много альтернативных лучших вариантов есть для, чтобы деньги работали.
But as an investor myself, there are various options to invest money in. So, that's what you have to consider too.
Очень хороший совет был о том, что нужно нанимать профессионального, кто может привлечь деньги.
Very good advice that was given before to hire a professional who can attract money.
Вы с точки зрения производителя смотрите на это, изобретателя.
You're looking at it as an inventor.
Очень важно, чтобы человек, который мог понять точку зрения инвестора.
But it's important to understand, to have a person who understands the investor point of view.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Удачи желаю.
Thank you. Good luck.
I guess maybe I'm the third immigrant to give you a hard time. But
I'm first generation, that's okay.
I'd like you to watch out for, the challenges of minimum viable product. In other words, you've spent $2.5 million a couple of years, and so like you're not ready yet. You want to raise a whole bunch more money, and then you'll get ready. And the number one thing that defines a business is a customer. And so I'd like you to get into business ASAP and get out of the garage. And the product is always going to use some more time and more tinkering and more improvement. But sooner or later, somebody's got to blow the whistle and say, we're going to start selling something to somebody. I like what you're doing with the patents. I'd like to see you put all your intellectual property into a separate company sooner than later. That separate company will license it to Echo, so you can have all the benefits that you have now inside the Echo entity. But when you put the IP in a separate company, then you can firewall it,
Right.
okay? Because patents aren't just assets, but they're also contingent liabilities, right? And so you need you want to firewall it from Echo, but you also want to be able to place a second bet, just like you hinted on earlier. As you're assembling the IP and filing all these patents, somewhere down the road, somebody might say, hey, the patents are worth more than the business. And so now you structurally, you're prepared for either a different capitalization or a different exit.
Right.
And likewise, should the patents in fact be more valuable, you can still have Echo exist and not be gutted, let's say, down the road because of the IP. I like your positioning statement about the wearables. I'd like to suggest a tweak, because I think the power word there is the word platform. So years ago, I was given a phrase that I've repeated a long time, for many times, and it's, define your business by the needs you meet, not the things you do. And so I thought of it about in this situation, because the concept of wearables is one of the things that you do, but that's not the need you meet. Okay, people don't say, I gotta put a wearable camera on. That's not the need. And so if you define your business as, let's say, for example, we process live video streams to provide safety and real-time logistics support. All of a sudden you're thinking, well, maybe the camera doesn't have to be worn. Maybe the platform can provide those needs for other cameras.
Yep.
So, my best to you.
Thank you.
So I love every step of the way. The advice is brilliant from all the gentlemen, and definitely on restructuring the IP. I'm big on IP and all of that. I agree 100% on telling your story. You may already have a lot of traction in sales that you didn't mention that we don't know about, and different contracts, and telling your story in that space when you present is fantastic, whether it's having already a city or a police department, but then on the commercial side, whether it's in government or industry with the cameras. And then also I think GoPro has certainly established the platform for showing that there's a consumer market at the high end.
Absolutely.
I mean, my 12-year-old had a GoPro at $350, and a lot of other kids did too. And it's also, they've established that it's a big consumer market for cameras that don't have live feed, right? Whether it's triathletes or bikers or the everyday adventurer. So you can do a lot with that with a really good marketing person, focusing on the consumer industry and helping you tell that story. And I do love your concept, and I agree that once you tell the story and get a few contracts that you can talk about publicly, you're going to kill it. I mean, really, best product I've seen in the boardroom. Really amazing.
Great. Thank you.
Certainly the most advanced in terms of being prepared for funding. That's impressive. I'm like John, a bootstrapper. I've bootstrapped all of my businesses. So two things I'll agree with. First of all, 8% as a return isn't impressive, but what's the real return with the business? That's the interesting part, and not enough information here to determine that. I'm interested in getting your full package and looking at it. I'm very interested in what you're doing. Just the second position coming from a bootstrapper is, as a bootstrapper, that's get revenue fast, and I would argue that you're not a bootstrapper because you don't have revenue coming in right now. And as one, that's the first thing I do is I go out and get revenue and then work to change it as I have it. One of my district managers is watching, and we're very active in our communities, and he's saying that we need to donate to some of the smaller town police departments your products, and that might be a good way to get it testing, and we can both win. I can get a good reputation by helping out the local police department, and maybe you can get your products out in testing. I didn't ask about competition. I'm going to be really interested in that when I'll follow my own rules, I suppose, this time, and not have you ask questions, but I am interested when I look at what you're doing about who your other competitors are. And with that, I'm going to pass it to the audience. So audience, if you have advice, please stand up, face that camera, and make sure you have the microphone when you do it. Keep it near your mouth, as Matt said.
I really think you should listen to what she said as far as from the sports aspect. Think about this for a second. How cool would it have been to see it from Tom Brady's point of view, dropping the ball? Or your granddaughter playing softball and seeing it on her helmet. Tiny little camera. Commercial.
Good evening. Everything sounds great. I think a good factor for me is safety. I hear you talk about officers a lot. I think our biggest challenge too, we have a lot of commercial drivers that drive 90 to 100 hours a week. This would be great for insurance companies as well because they're always wanting to save money. And I think this would be a good way to pitch that towards them as well, to take care of their drivers and make sure they're having someone watch them as well. So that was my vision.
Hi, so I want to piggyback off an idea that Marcos gave you about putting your intellectual property in a separate portfolio. I would suggest that you do that, but in addition to the reasons he mentioned, you might be familiar with the Small Business Innovation Research Grant Program, SBIR.gov. The Department of Defense has a Vulcan, a program for startups called Vulcan. The Department of Homeland Security has one for startups called Cleverly Start. But every month or so, you'll hear about police shooting a civilian. And in the military, we lose soldiers because they got to get so close to the enemy to identify the bad guy as the bad guy. Your 3D rendering and identification of a person with a degree of certainty that no other can do, so you say, is ideal for an SBIR grant, which go up to about $225,000 phase one, $2 million phase two. But then it goes beyond that. I'm a patent attorney, registered. It's better than a patent because if you get through SBIR phase two successfully, you by government contract become the sole source supplier to the government for that solution. So I'd encourage you to split off your IP portfolio and pursue or look into pursuing an SBIR grant.
Great. Thank you.
Any other audience advice?
Hayden, you got nothing?
Everybody used the term piggyback. I'm going to say doggy back because I have a doggy background. This would be awesome for pets, just primarily because I deal with them all the time, and I see so many things are out there that just do not work, and people want to know what's going on with their pet right then, right there. So the commercial market, wearables for pets, this is an awesome idea. The other thing, I'm a newly found dad, so having my son getting ready to, he's only 16 months, but he'll be driving here pretty soon. I can see this being implemented in a car, and just have it sitting on a dashboard, and you know where your kids are going to be and where they're going to be at any time. So my suggestion is definitely going to that commercial market, because then you can prove the concept even more so, and that's going to bring you more revenue.
I guess I'm kind of a plant for the company, but I'm going to go ahead and mention a couple of things. I'll put it in a question. But
you can't ask questions, you can just give advice.
Give advice, okay. The advice that I have, and a lot of people have brought it up, is that the product has so many applications. The mind goes crazy when you think of how many things you can do with it. As you know, I've streamed my son's baseball, football, all kind of different games to my parents in Orlando, Florida. And they're sitting there on the computer watching them play, and I'm just sitting there looking at them. I'm looking at the field. It's pretty powerful. And my advice to you is to narrow the scope, which it looks like you have. You've narrowed the scope because there's so many things you could try to reach, and try to get the low-hanging fruit first, especially as a startup, whether that be law enforcement, the blind community, so on and so forth. So, no question, that was just a statement.
Good job.
Hey, Ski, I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
And I learned some stuff. I like to chase customers. And some people said you need a customer. I think I'd go to the medical community, and we can talk about it later, but I think there's an application in the medical world for what you got. And I'm not talking visually challenged. You seem pretty locked on to the military world, or excuse me, to the police, and I understand, I get that. But application in the medical world, I've been just sitting here thinking, and you're looking for a customer that'll lay out a few million and not think twice about it, and they got a lot of money right now. And then the second is you need a customer, another customer, and I would think military. They have I'm not sure what the patent attorney was saying. I was trying to keep up, and I was a little over my pay grade. But I would go to the military, and I know they have an application for what you have, and they got a lot of money, and all you got to do is get them to buy $1 million of them or whatever it is. But that's what I want to say about chasing a customer.
Appreciate it.
So anyway.
Thank you.
I want to talk about customers also, but about more so what she said about the consumers and really just thinking about where everyone's attention is going right now. And I know, like they were saying, there's a ton of different things you can do and there's a ton of apps, but influencer marketing is one of the biggest marketing tactics going on right now. And so if you could even find, influencers on social media who just want to capture their day-to-day, they're already doing it by themselves. When the selfie stick came out, everyone was really drawn to that because it made capturing themselves a lot easier, capturing what they're doing a lot easier. So, maximizing off the people that are on social media that are looking at content all day, every day, and just giving them that easy tool to even, document their journey. I don't know if y'all follow Gary Vaynerchuk or anyone like that constantly documents his day-to-day business life. Well, if he's able to put those on, instead of us watching, him through the lens of his videographer, we're actually seeing his day-to-day through his eyes, and it just creates that unique experience that like, oh, wow, I'm like with Gary in these moments and not just watching Gary, I actually am Gary. People are all caught up on being like the people they're following and that they're watching. So like he said, like watching Brady. Yeah, like that type of thing. You want to get involved with where everyone's attention is going. And with social and with content and with technology, it's the younger people, that are really utilizing those platforms to be able to document and to showcase what they're doing. And they want to see celebrities doing it. They want to see entertainers, even being Drake at the concert, and you're seeing it from Drake's view rather than seeing it from the audience's view, looking at where people's attention really is, and I think that people are really drawn to those who have influence right now.
Very good point.
I was going to add to what she was saying. I just had a friend spend $150 at Disney World on spectacles, and they're a Snapchat glasses. And they can only, like you said, they're heavy, so they can only record like 15 seconds at a time, but they just keep pushing the button and recording, so they could post. But it was the same thing, and they did it so that they could take it for roller coasters.
Mm-hmm.
So I would agree with her that if you could market over to the social media side of it,
Yep.
that would be great.
Anybody else?
I think I would. Yeah, okay.
All right, Ben.
All right, so.
Ben, you gotta have the mic.
Good.
You gotta have the mic.
So here's the deal. You got two guys here that have been working with this product for 3 or 4 years. And like you guys, we've thought of every known fact to mankind that would allow you to use this technology. But at some point, you have to focus on the low-hanging fruit and focus on being successful, okay? And the lowest hanging fruit right now is the police department, all right? So just like you're mentioning the medical profession, you guys have to forgive me. I have a thing called intermittent tremor disorder, so my voice quit. But the deal with that is the police are associated with the EMTs, and they're also associated with the fire department. We already have plans to incorporate the cameras in the fire department helmets as they go into buildings so we can locate these people if they fall through a floor, okay? The EMTs would wear it, and the doctor in the emergency room will be seeing the patient in transit, and will be able to assist the EMT on fixing the patient before he gets there. Watching your kids play sports and letting your family watching, or if you're out bass fishing and you catch a 15-pound bass and you record it and it's stored on your computer back home, that's amazing. If you go hunting and you shoot a 14-point buck, you've recorded it and sent it back home. We're aware of all these peripheral issues, but we have to get a foot somewhere, and the police department is where we start, because all people want body cameras on policemen, okay? And they don't want a recording device. They want something live streaming, so it's legitimate information that they receive. No. I'm not I'm just letting them know everything that's been said here.
You were very passionate. Any last advice before I turn it back to our presenter for his 2-minute rebuttal? One more lady over here, Denise. Oh, wait for the microphone. And stand if you would, please.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I just want to say, just again, to continue what I was saying before, because someone mentioned giving them to the police department for free. You know, if you can find the right influencer to give it to them for free, that's low-hanging fruit, because these influencers have, you know, millions of followers, 500,000 followers. That's going to be your end. You know, they just came out with the selfie light. The girl sold like 300,000 of them in a week because she had a selfie light that was attached to her phone, and she posted it 2 or 3 times, and now everyone has one. And so when he's talking about low-hanging fruit, if you go that route, that's a great way to do it. And even finding an influencer who is impactful in regards to what's going on with police and allowing them to market it from that perspective as well, that could be another way to get into that platform, you know, with security.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Then thank you very much. You had some great advice from the audience tonight,
Sure
didn't you?
did. Really
so now
did.
you get your 2 minutes to say whatever you want to about the advice you got.
All right. Let me say that too. I really appreciate all the advice. Great ideas. To be honest with you, every time we show the product to somebody, the same thing happens. I was on an airplane flying here yesterday, and packed flight with all the delays because of weather. The gentleman sitting next to me, as soon as I sat down and started talking to me, I'm thinking, oh, I got work to do. Turns out he's a 25-year retired police officer from Dallas, and he just retired a year ago. And I told him about the product, actually showed him some of the slides. He wouldn't stop talking. The entire flight was telling me about all the different applications that he could imagine just in the police space alone and the benefits that it had for them. I really appreciate the advice as far as social media and getting the word out. If you look at our product just for the police space, and again, I just don't want to focus on that, there's a lot of benefits for both the public as well as for the police officers. Today, if you have a video recorder and something goes wrong, do you think that recording is going to make it back to the office? This is streamed live. It's automatically recorded. You know, there's no hiding what happened, basically. I think once the public knows about the product and live streaming video capability, there'll be a lot of people that are calling for this product to be on every police officer that's out there instead of a video recorder. We've looked at a lot of applications. For example, Hayden, I think you're the one that engaged the PGA. And one of the people that's on the PGA steering committee, they want to be able to sell point of view for tournaments. We talked about Tom Brady, although I'm a Patriots fan, I wouldn't want to have seen the fumble. But that's happening in football as well, okay? There's going to be cameras in the helmets, all these guys are going to be mobile. Uber, right? I mean, one of our investors basically said, hey, every time my daughter calls Uber, we worry about who's the Uber driver, is she going to get there, is she going to be safe, all that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, there are so many applications that we do have to be a little careful and really try to focus. But the consumer side, there's a lot that can be done. It can be done on social media. When I said I want the product on Verizon, for example, in their stores, that's really for the consumer market. One thing that I can't do because we're on streaming live video and we're in a public offering is I couldn't really share with you guys where we are with our partners. We have NDAs with these guys, non-disclosure agreements, so I really couldn't get into a lot of detail. I can't name names. But I can tell you that we have 2 companies that are already in the police space that absolutely want to work with us to resell our product into that space. One of those companies, we have a call with the president almost weekly right now. We're working towards a very detailed letter of intent that as soon as we can ship prototypes turns into a contract. And almost all of the revenue that's projected in the sheets that I gave you guys is from that one customer in the first year, based on their projections for forecast. That number is $8 to $9 million, so there'll be plenty of money to pay back our 2-year notes. And we're literally probably 30 to 45 days away from closing those details and getting that contract in place. The other one is a little bit further along, a little bit further behind, but basically we feel very confident if we can deliver prototypes to them and get through their field testing, that'll turn into a contract of similar size, if not larger. And we see other vertical markets with similar partnership capabilities. So, you know, if you guys are very interested in investing, we'd be more than glad to sign an NDA, and I'll be able to share the actual names and a lot more details with you guys.
Well, Ski, great job. I will be wanting one of those NDAs for sure.
All right.
Now,
Thank
one
you.
thing we haven't been doing as much as we should is getting kind of an audience poll. So let's pretend, audience, that you're all angel investors. You have money ready to put into a small business. Is this a business you'd put money into? By a show of hands, raise your hands. Okay, looks like about 60–70%.
All right.
That's fantastic. Thank you again. Very nice presentation, and I look forward to further conversations.
Great. Follow up.
So thank you again for attending the boardroom today. A couple of dates for your calendars is March 13th is going to be a how to pitch and how to raise money, about a 4-hour seminar. After that, we're going right into our boardroom edge grand opening party, have drinks and fun and all of that. So remember that for the 13th. And then on the 15th, that'll be Thursday, March 15th, we're going to be doing something a little differently. We're going to be doing 5-minute pitch contests. So we're going to get about 10 people that want to pitch. So if you want to pitch a business, if you have a business you want to get up on the boardroom, you're going to get 5 minutes to come up and pitch on the 15th, and we'll select a winner to do the next presentation after that. So thanks for attending the boardroom. Have a nice night. And those of you that are here, the wine now comes out. Meet some people that you wanted to meet from the introductions earlier. And you.
Charles, before Jordan, can you have say a few words about the seminars that we're going to have this weekend?
Okay.
Is that okay? Давайте расскажем про семинары несколько пару секунд.
Можно?
Да, да.
Можно. Если у вас найдется 5 минут, я хотел бы рассказывать о том, что суббота, воскресенье, какие семинары будут.
And so just in 5 short minutes, we'll talk about what we'll do this weekend.
Make it one, please.
1 minute. Okay.
1 minute.
Одна минута.
Да. Если вы занимаетесь твой маркетинг и хотите сделать хорошая команда на международном уровне,
If you are in the network marketing business and you want to build your business and create a team, build your team.
в субботу приходите на этот тренинг, называется «Деньги с твоего
Come on
маркетинга».
Saturday and we'll teach you how to make money in network marketing.
Я очень много компаний вырастил.
I grew businesses in network marketing and I created a lot of network marketing teams.
А если вы
I helped many network